Our class today lesson is on quadratic functions. And so if 4 times 0 equals 0, right? Let's see, 4 times 0 is 0, and 0 times 4 is 0. Therefore, if 4 times a equals 0, then a must be 0, all right? And so if two numbers are multiplied together, um, and they equal to 0, then we know at least one of those two numbers must be 0. And this is what we call the zero product property. Right? It states that let A and B, let A and B be real numbers, and if A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. And so we use the zero product property to solve the equation when one side is 0 and the other side is a product of polynomial factors. All right. And the solution of such equations are called zeros. All right. Now, when we solve these equations, right, we must first write the equation so that it equals 0, factor each equation completely, and then 3, set each factor to 0 and solve for the variable. All right, and we're going to look at some examples. So look at number 1 now. In number 1, we have two factors of a quadratic equation set to 0. And our goal now is to solve for the variable and find the zeros, all right? And so what we do is we're going to set each factor to 0. In this case, my x plus 3 is my a, and the x plus 4 is my b. And so we're going to set a equals 0, in this case, x plus 3 to 0, x plus 3 to 0, and also x plus 4 to 0, okay? And so we're going to solve for x. And by now, you guys should be very good at this. I want to get x by itself. Therefore, I'm going to add a -3 to both sides. Draw my line. And this gives me x is equal to -3. Similarly, I'm going to add a -4 to both sides. Draw my line. And that's going to give me x is equal to -4. All right. So those are the solutions to the quadratic equation, are the zeros. All right. And on number 2, if you notice now, the equation is not set to 0, and so we must move the -25 to the left side, and so that we have 0 on the right side. Here we go. So I'm going to add a plus 25 here and a plus 25 on the left side, and so that's going to give me x squared plus 10x plus 25, all right? And that's going to equal 0 because plus 25 and -25, those cancel out and give me 0 right there. So now I have the equation set to 0. My next step now is to factor and get the two factors. And I'm just going to use the X box method for this one. And so my X box method, okay. And so the first term is going to go into the first box. The last term is going to go into the last box. And so I need to find those two corner boxes. And therefore, I'm going to go over to the X and let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. And so the top number is going to be 25, right? And the bottom number is going to be 10. And therefore, I want two numbers. So when I add them, it gives me 10. And when I multiply them, it gives me 25. And those two numbers are 5 and 5. Therefore, this box is going to be 5x. That one's going to be 5x. And so this is going to be x right here. And if this is x, this is x. Because x times x gives me x squared. And to fill in these two spots now, what times x gives me 5x? That is just 5. And what times x gives me 5x? That is just 5. Okay, so my factors are x. Okay, let me get a little more space on here. So my factors are x plus 5, right? And x plus 5, and those are equal to 0. And so let me extend. And so if you set each factor to 0, I'm going to get x plus 5 is equal to 0, and x plus 5 is equal to 0. And if I add a -5 to both sides, here I'm trying to find x. I want to know what the variable is, what is it equal to. And so if I add a -5 to both sides, okay, that's going to give me x is equal to -5. And similarly on the other side, I'm going to get the same answer if I add a -5 to both sides, -5 to both sides. I draw my line, x is equal to -5. So -5 is my solution, or the 0 to the equation, okay? Let's look at some more examples. Here we have x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now this is good. The equation is set to 0. So now, I'm sorry, this is 1, 2. I should be working in 3. Where's 3 at? Okay, let me slide this up. Sorry about that. So that's 3. Okay, here we go. All right, now we have 9x squared plus x. Okay, now I'm going to find the GCF here. I need to find what is the highest common factor between 9x squared and x. All right, well, the highest common factor is going to be x. So my GCF is x. And to factor this now, remember, to factor this, we're going to divide each term by the GCF, which is x. So therefore, I'm going to get 9x squared divided by x plus x divided by x. All right, we're dividing each term by the GCF. Now, 9x squared divided by x is just 9x plus x divided by x is just 1. And so the factors are x times 9x plus 1. Of course, this is set to 0. All right. And so I'm going to set each factor to 0. The first one is going to be x is equal to 0. So that's already solved. X equals 0 right there. The next one is going to be 9x plus 1 equal to 0. Now, I want to find the value of x. So what I'm going to do is I need to get, I need to move this plus 1 to the right side. Therefore, I'm going to add a -1 to both sides, draw my line. That gives me 9x is equal to -1. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to divide now both sides by 9. Divide this by 9, this by 9. And so that's going to give me x is equal to -1 over 9. Okay? So those are my two solutions. Okay. Now let's look at number 4. Okay. I need to find the factors of this quadratic equation. So I'm going to use my X box method. Okay, let me make this a bit bigger. And so the first term is 6x squared. The last term is -4. And to find those two boxes, so I go to the x, right? My top number is going to be the product of 6 and -4, which is -24. And -5 goes to the bottom. So what two numbers, when I add them, gives me -5, but when I multiply them, gives me -24. And those two numbers are -8 and +3. So that's going to give me a -8x and a +3. +3x. And so for the for the top row, right? My GCF, my greatest common factor is going to be, let's see, I have 6 and 3. The highest common factor between 6 and 3 is 3. And for x squared x, the highest common factor is x. If this is 3x, then you know this is going to be 2x. Okay? And what times 3x gives me 3x? That's just 1. What times 2x gives me -8x? That's just -4. So my factors are 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 4. And of course, those are set to 0. Now, I'm going to set each factor to 0 and solve for x. All right. So I'm going to set 2x plus 1 to 0. And also, I'm going to have 3x minus 4 equal to 0. And so we're going to solve for x. If I minus 1 on both sides, that's going to give me 2x is equal to negative 1. And then I divide both sides. Um, if I divide both sides by 2, all right, I'm left with x is equal to negative 1/2. That's one solution. And on the other side, I'm going to add a plus 4 here and a plus 4 there. Okay, that's really close. Let me see if I can make it a little bit clearer. Plus 4 on both sides. Oops. Okay. And then I draw my line. That's going to give me 3x is equal to 4. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3, right? And that will give me x is equal to 4 over 3. So those are my solutions. X equals 4/3 and x equals to negative 1/2. All right. Okay, let's try another one. Go ahead and pause the video and try 5 on your own. And if you get stuck, you can come back and look at the video. All right, go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to use the Xbox method for this one. Xbox. Okay, I want to make sure I have space for the other one on the right. Now, we know that in the first box, I'm going to have x squared. Last box, I'm going to have 8. So I need to find these two boxes. So I go over to my x. And we know that the top number is going to be 8, right? Because it's 1 times 8. That's going to be 8. And the bottom number is going to be negative 6. And so I need to find two numbers. So when I add them, it gives me negative 6. But when I multiply them, it gives me 8. And those two numbers are negative 2 and negative 4. Therefore, I'm going to have a negative 2x and a negative 4x. And therefore, I'm going to get, this is going to give me an x here and an x there. So what times x gives me negative 4x? That's a negative 4. And what times x gives me negative 2x? That's negative 2. So my factors are x minus 4 and x minus 2. And those are set to 0. So let's set each factor to 0 and solve for x. So I'm going to get x minus 4 is equal to 0. And x minus 2 is equal to 0. And that's going to give me x is equal to 4 and x is equal to 2. All right. If I add 4 to both sides, I'm going to get x equals 4. All right. And so if I substitute x equals 4 into the original equation, that will give me 4. All right. So let's look at that. I didn't do that in the first example. Let's see. I have x squared minus 6x plus 8. X squared minus 6x plus 8. All right. So because I'm saying x equals 4 is a solution. So if I substitute x equals 4 or x equals 2 into this equation, I should get 0 on both sides. So let's try that. So when x equals 4, I'm going to get 4 squared minus 6 times 4 plus 8. And that should equal to 0, right? Well, let's see. 16, 4 squared is 16. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24 plus 8. And that is 0, right? 16 plus 8 is 24. And 24 minus 24 is 0. So that gives me 0 on both sides. Okay, 0. So that's what it means that x equals 4 is a solution. And similarly, if I substitute x equals 2 into the equation, I'll get 0, 0 on either side. All right. All right, let's look at B. Now, if you notice now, B, the equation is now set to 0. So I need to modify the equation where, so I have 0 on the right side. So what I'm going to do is just add a plus 12 here and a plus 12 on the left side. Okay, that's a plus right there. And so on the right side, I'm going to get 0 because negative 12 plus 12 is 0. On the left side now, I'm going to get b squared minus 7b plus 12. Now that is in the format I'm looking for where the equation is set to 0. Let's go ahead and solve this using the x box. Okay, draw my square. And remember, b squared goes in the first box, 12 goes in the last box. And then I need to find these two corner boxes. Therefore, I'm going to jump over to the diamond or the x. And the top number is going to be 12. The bottom number is going to be negative 7. And so I need to find two numbers. So when I add them, it gives me negative 7. But when I multiply them, it gives me 12. And those two numbers are negative 3 and negative 4. And so this is going to give me negative 3. Oh, this is a b, 3b. Okay, this should be a negative 3b and a negative 4b. Okay, and so this will be a b here. This will be a b here. And if what times b gives me negative 4b, that's a negative 4. What times b gives me negative 3b, that's a negative 3. So my factors are b minus 4. Okay, so my factors are b, oops, I need to use green. B minus 4 and b minus 3. And of course, these are set to 0. Okay, and so I need to find the value of b. So I'm going to set each factor to 0. B minus 4 equals 0, and b minus 3 is equal to 0. And if I add 4 to both sides of the equation, right, I will get b is equal to 4. And on the right side, if I add 3 to both sides of the equation, that will give me b is equal to 3. So my zeros on my solution are b equals 4 and b equals 3. Okay. Let's look at number 6. Now, in number 6, all right, I want you to pause the video and work 7 and 8. Okay. Try solve them, and if you run into a problem, if you get stuck, then you can play the video and see where you get stuck at. All right, just go ahead and do that. Now, if you notice now, I have two factors already separated, and so all I'm going to do now is set the factors to 0, right? And so that's going to give me x equals to 0, and x minus 8 is equal to 0. This is good. It's already solved. So here, all I'm going to do is just add 8 to both sides, and that's going to give me, if I add 8 to both sides, all right, that's just going to give me x is equal to 8. So those are the solution. X equals 0 and x equals 8. And you can see if you substitute x equal to 0 in the original equation, you will get 0, 0 on each side. And likewise 8. All right. Number 8, again, this is going to give me, let's use my x box here. Okay. First term is x squared, last term is 10. I need to find those two boxes. So let's jump over to the diamond or the x. The top number is going to be 10. The bottom number is going to be 11. But two numbers, when I add them, gives me 11. But when I multiply them, gives me 10. And that's just 1 and 10. So this will be x, and this will be 10x. All right? Yes. Okay. And so, this is going to be x here. This is going to be x there. What time x gives me 10x? That's 10. What time x gives me x? That's just 1. So my factors are x plus 10 and x plus 1, and that is set to 0. And so I'm going to set each factor to 0. X plus 10 is equal to 0, and x plus 1 is equal to 0. And so to find x, all I'm going to have to do is just add a negative 1. For the one on the right, I'm just going to add a negative 1 to both sides, and that's going to give me x is equal to negative 1. Okay? And if I add a negative 10 to both sides, my answer is going to be x is equal to negative 10. So those are the solution or zeros to the quadratic equation. All right, that's number 8. Let's see what we have left. 9. Okay, on number 9, again, I need to find the GCF in this case. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is the common factor between x squared and x, right, is just x. That's the common factor, and let's call that the GCF. All right, GCF. And so I'm going to divide each term, which is x. I'm going to divide each term by x now. So that's x squared divided by x, and negative 5x divided by x. And so that's going to give me x squared divided by x is just x. 5x divided by x is just 5. And so my factors are x times x minus 5. And of course, this is set to 0. All right. And so I'm going to set both factors to 0. So x is equal to 0 and x minus 5 is equal to 0. Well, this is already done. I'm going to add on the right side, I'm just going to add a plus 5 to both sides. And when I do that, that gives me x equals 5. All right. On the number 10, if you notice now, I have two terms on the right. So I need to get those two terms over to the left side. I need to get the 9x and the 20 onto the left side of the equation. So therefore, to do that, I'm going to add a plus 9x. If I add a plus 9x on the right side, I also have to add a plus 9x on the left side. And then I'm going to have to add a plus 20 on the right side and also a plus 20 on the left side. And if I just haven't been doing my regular track. All right, so on the right side, I'm going to get 0 because a negative 9x plus 9x, that is 0. And negative 20 plus 20, that is 0. So on the right side, I'm just going to have 0. On the left side now, I'm going to have an x squared, right, plus the 9x plus the 20. And that is equal to 0. And so let me use my X box now. Okay, I drew the box first. Okay. All right, let's try this again. Let's draw the X box. All right, X and then the box. Okay, and so I'm going to have an X squared there. I'm going to have a 20 there. I need to find these two terms for the corner boxes. So I'm going to jump over to the X. And by now, you know the top number is going to be 20. The bottom number is going to be 9. And what two numbers, when I add them, gives me 9. But when I multiply them, gives me 20. And those two numbers are 4 and 5. Therefore, I'm going to have a 4x here and a 5x there. And you know, it's going to be an x here and an x there. And what time x gives me 5x? That's a 5. What time x gives me 4x? That's a 4. And so my factors are x plus 5 and x plus 4. And of course, I've got to set these two factors to 0. And then I'm going to set x plus 5 to 0 and x plus 4 to 0. Extend the page a bit. And so I'm going to, for the left factor, I'm going to add a negative 5 to both sides of the equation, and that will give me x is equal to negative 5. All right. On the right side, I'm going to add a negative 4 to both sides, and so that's going to give me x is equal to negative 4. So those are the two factors, the two solutions to the equation. All right, let's look at the last one. Now, if you notice, number 11 is one of the special factors, right? It is the difference of perfect square. And so if you go ahead, right, and take the square root of 16, the square root of 4x squared. That's going to give you 2x and 4. So my factors are going to be 2x plus 4 and 2x minus 4. And that is equal to 0. Okay? And so I'm going to set both factors to 0. 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. And the other one is 2x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay? Now, first, for the left equation, I'm going to add a negative 4 to both sides. And so that's going to give me 2x minus 4. I'm sorry, 2x is equal to negative 4. All right? Now I'm going to divide both sides by by 2. And that's going to give me x is equal to negative 2 on the left side. On the right side, I'm going to divide both sides by 2 again. I'm sorry. I need to get the 4 to the right side. So I'm going to add a 4 to both sides. Sorry about that. So 2x is going to equal to 4. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Okay, divide both sides by 2. And that's going to give me x is equal to 2. So that's my zeros or solution to the equation. On number 12, I'm going to have you solve number 12 on your own. But first, if you look at number 12, you notice um, that 3 is a common factor between 3, 6, and 24. And so if I divide the equations by 3, that's going to give me x. If I divide this by 3, this by 3, and this by 3, that by 3, right? That's going to give me x squared plus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. That is a lot easier to solve than the original equation. All right? So go ahead and use the X box and solve number 12 on your own. And you should get for the answer x plus 4. Let's see, x. You should get the factor is going to be x plus 4 and x minus 2. X minus 2, okay, equal to 0. That's what you should end up with. And then set each factor to 0 and solve for x. I'm going to let you do that one on your own. All right, guys. I think that's the last problem we have. Yes. All right.